All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Chino Mayor Candidates Forum, brought to you by the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. So the purpose this evening of this forum is to allow voters an opportunity to learn more about the candidates running for Chino Mayor. So our goal is that the information that will be provided this evening will assist voters in making more informed decisions as they cast their votes. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is David Meir from ABC News. That was a joke, by the way. Thank you for laughing. My name is Reggie Thomas, CEO and owner of Peak Potential and a board member of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, and it's my privilege to serve as moderator this evening. Alongside me is Julia Cabrera. She is our Community Engagement Director for the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, and she will be serving as our timekeeper this evening. So let me share with you the format for this evening's program. We will begin with a 2-minute opening statement from both of you, and each candidate will have to go through this the opening statement, and then the opening statements can be 2 minutes or less, and our timekeeper will keep you informed of time remaining via the blue, green, yellow, and red cards. So the blue card represents 60 seconds remaining, green card 30 seconds, yellow card 10 seconds, and then red card means to stop. This year we have 2 candidates running for mayor, all of whom were able to join us this evening, and the candidates were randomly assigned seats prior to the start of this forum. So our candidates for mayor this year is Mrs. Eunice Ulloa and Mr. Paul Rodriguez. So we're going to get started now with our opening statements, which are 2 minutes. And Ms. Ulloa, you won the coin toss, so we will begin with you.
Thank you very much, Reggie. Good evening. My name is Eunice Ulloa. I was born in Pomona, and I've lived in this valley my entire life. My husband, Bob, and I've been married for 49 years. As a blended family, we have 6 children, 12 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. I first became involved in Chino politics shortly after we moved to Chino in 1980 because of land use issues, and I've been involved ever since. I quickly realized that in order to protect what you cherish, you need to become involved, and so I did. I've had the honor of serving 1 year on the Planning Commission, over 19 years as a council member, and 20 years as mayor. My dream for Chino was, and still is, to build and maintain a balanced community where there is something for everyone, where you can rent a place to live, buy a condo, a house, an estate, or even a ranch. You can work here, own a business here, play here, shop here, worship here, and go to college here. You can do it all and never leave town. We've worked hard to create a premier community that we can all be proud of. We've been through good times and bad, but the struggles have made us stronger and better, and for that we can be thankful. However, the challenges we face now are created by escalating costs, rising crime rates, and the state's desire to take over local control. These challenges make it critically important for us to have experienced leadership so that we can once again come out of this stronger and better. I thank you for your trust and support. It's been an honor to serve this great community, and I would love to continue. So please vote for Eunice Ulloa on November 5th.
Thank you, Mrs. Ulloa. Mr. Rodriguez, would you give your opening statement?
Yes, thank you. My name is Paul Rodriguez, and I have lived in Chino my entire life. In fact, my paternal grandfather, settled in Chino in 1904, so the family has been here over 120 years. Living in Chino, I've seen Chino grow from a agricultural dairy area to now a bustling community that is busting at the seams, where we need more focus on education, transportation, infrastructure, and so forth. Being involved in Chino, I have been involved with the Chamber of Commerce, also with the Knights of Columbus, Consul 15339 at St. Margaret's, and I have been a lifelong organist for the parish since I was 11 years old. So being involved and being a new mayor for the city of Chino, I want to be able to address the critical issues with a proactive, transparent approach to leadership, where I want to be effective, I want to be transparent, I want the community to be involved, and I will open up mayor hours at the city so that I can speak to anyone at any time. I've been involved also as a city councilman for District 1. So that was a very good experience because I learned quite a bit of the fiscal and also the involvement of what a councilman needs to do. So thank you for listening to me, and please vote for me November 5th.
Thank you both for your opening statements. And now we're going to move to the question and answer segment of the program. So to encourage candidate responses, the candidates have not received advance notification of the questions that will be asked this evening. The questions that will be asked are a combination of those received in advance from the community, chamber members, and those prepared by members of the chamber's Legislative Action Committee. So candidates, you will have up to 60 seconds to answer each of the questions. And as we did earlier, we're going to ask that you pay attention to the colored cards to help you stay on track. So let's begin with our first question, and we will begin with Ms. Ulloa. The first question, Ms. Ulloa, what makes you the best candidate for mayor?
My experience, my patience, my attitude toward what we need, courage in order to stand up against certain things like state intrusion, transparency, and honesty.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, what makes you the best candidate for mayor?
My entire life, I've been involved in education for over 40 years, and in those 40 years, I've been able to work with people from all diversities. And I've learned that to be an effective leader, you need to be able to communicate openly, transparently, and to also look at creativity, to be able to look into the 21st century and to be able to develop more programs that are going to help the community.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Rodriguez, the next question, I will begin with you. What are the top 3 issues facing the city of Chino, and how would you address them?
Okay. One of the top issues that I have seen through my investigation is that there is water contamination coming from our septic tanks. I know that the city is spending $20 million in a new recycling center, but that's not solving the problem. There are over 1,500 septic tanks broken in the unincorporated area. We need to have that fixed because as mayor and also as a Christian and human, we need to protect the unborn child. The second one would be infrastructure. Look at our roads, full of potholes, full of undone roads, and also the sewer system needs to be fixed. Right now we have Pine Avenue and Euclid Avenue. Even though we made an agreement with the U.S. Army Corps, we're now going to have to pay installment plans. The third one would be our fiscal. It was discovered that the city of Chino will be annually $15 million in the hole from 2024 to 25. So we need to have a transparent ability to see quarterly where the money is going.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Ulloa, what are the top 3 issues facing our city, and how would you address them as mayor?
First top issue is public safety. Crime is out of control, as we know. It was caused by Prop 47, and I'm very hopeful that Proposition 36, if the voters pass it, which I pray that they do, is going to help resolve some of those issues. Homelessness is up 57%, retail theft 53%, and drug overdoses are up 59%. We're addressing this very aggressively with additional police programs and education. Second priority is homelessness and housing, the combination of 2. Homelessness, we are partnering with West End communities, the mayors in the West End city, and the county of San Bernardino in order to figure out how can we best serve our homeless population. And the third, of course, is financial stability. We did project a deficit. We now have that figured out. We have cut back on things, and the citizens did trust us to pass Measure V, which is going to take off pressure from the general fund.
Thank you. So the next question, it's not an issue-oriented question. It's an opportunity for you, as in question 1, to brag on yourself. So what is a unique skill that you possess that would bring value to the city of Chino in your role as mayor? Ms. Ulloa, would you address that?
I'm very, very transparent and honest, as the citizens have seen over the years. I do not believe in playing games. I do not believe in pointing fingers and blaming others. I believe in total honesty and transparency. I think that's very critical in the political realm, especially nowadays. When we have issues, we need to admit that we have issues, and then we need to work together to resolve those issues. Finger pointing, blame game does not work, Reggie, and it does not work for our community.
Mr. Rodriguez, how would you answer that question? A unique skill that you possess that would bring value to the city of Chino in your role as mayor.
Okay. My studies and my profession as a doctorate in leadership and organizational management, over the years, over 40 years, I've been able to speak to people from all different diversities, religious backgrounds. So it's important to not only be transparent, but also to be available, to be able to have an open door policy that I believe is very, very important. As a high school counselor at Don Lugo, I always met with all my students. And as a councilman for the city of Chino, District 1, I was always available 7 days a week, anytime to meet with anyone, to discuss any issues that they have. So that's one skill that I have. And also to actively listen. Because if you only speak and not actively listen to what your constituent is saying, then you're falling short. So those are my skills that I bring to the table, and those are the things that I will do as mayor. Be open and transparent.
Thank you. So Chino is currently facing a budget deficit. How do you plan to tackle this financial shortfall? Mr. Rodriguez, we'll begin with you on that question.
Yes, as it was mentioned, the city of Chino would be $15 million in the hole. I think one way to do it is to have quarterly reports that are going to be done and spoken about, not just once, but through social media, podcasts, YouTubes, and so forth. That way everyone knows on the table where everything is at. And I would also include a fiscal audit of the city, complete audit by a third party to ensure that we have the monies in the right place. And that's how we move in that direction. So that's very, very important. The communication with the community and to see what can be taken out and what can be put in.
Mrs. Ulloa, how do you plan to tackle this financial shortfall?
Well, we already are, Reggie. It was by my request that we project out 5 to 10 years to see where we are. As you know, costs have gone through the roof. One example is a little 1-acre park that we thought would cost about $2.5 million to develop is now over $5 million. So not unlike your own housing budget, our budget has also been stretched. We do have increased property revenues. We have a very aggressive economic development team now established to bring in new businesses. We have cut costs, and we have looked at how to streamline many of the expenses that we have. So we no longer are projecting a deficit. As I mentioned, the citizens passed Measure V, which is taking a lot of stress off the general fund. Measure V was promised to fix infrastructure, water facilities, sewer facilities, and public safety. And that is going to help us tremendously in the future.
Thank you. So citizens are concerned about traffic, infrastructure, parking in the city of Chino. How do you plan to address those concerns? Eunice, we'll start with you on that question.
Well, the trucking that everyone is bothered about is a regional issue. To get our goods, we need truck services. We have changed our truck routes to try to lighten up some of the load on our streets, but a pure fact of the matter is the state is not allowing the expansion of freeways any longer. In fact, the only thing that they're allowing now are HOV lanes and toll roads. So traffic is something that we're going to continue to deal with. How we deal with that is that we need certain signalization. We need certain signage on streets. We need to coordinate the signals so that traffic flows evenly. We need improved public transportation, which belongs to an organization called Omnitrans. Unfortunately, where we're located, we will not have light rail, so you have to travel to Montclair, Ranch Cucamonga if you wish to use the Metro Rail. It's a regional issue that all the cities in the West End especially are dealing with.
Paul, how would you address the traffic, infrastructure, and parking issues in the city of Chino?
Okay. First of all, I would work with my directors in the city to ensure that all systems are working, meaning signals are working and up to date. I would work with the police department, the chief of police, and all the officers that are doing traffic protection, and to ensure that they are up to date with all the different signs that guide the truckers to move in and out of the city. Because that is a big problem when you have large congested areas with trucks in the way. So we need to ensure that the signals are done, that there's communication with the police, our police department, and also that we are following all state and federal laws concerning transportation of trucks and so forth, from our warehouses to our freeways and so forth.
So Paul, we'll begin with you on this next question. How do you balance the need for housing with keeping the atmosphere we've created in Chino?
Okay, AB 101, that's a state law that we need to follow. If we don't follow it, the city will be sued. I spoke to Rob Bonta, the Attorney General for the California. He says it's a mandate. So what we need to do is what I've heard from developers is that the city is not even speaking to developers. So there has to be a door open so that developers can be spoken to and to develop comprehensive average homes that are going to be affordable for the housing, for the people. It's important, and we know that housing is up, but we need to focus on also the law. We can't flip-flop on not obeying the law. So we need to somehow measure and speak to developers into working with them to build homes that are going to be a part of our city and also help our populations that are looking for areas to live.
And Eunice, we'd love to hear from you on that. How do you balance the need for housing with keeping the atmosphere we've created in Chino?
Well, I'd like to clarify one thing. We have very, very close conversations with our developers, so the statement that was just made is not true. We have requirements that are established by the state that we are required to do, which is called the RENO, which is Regional Housing Needs Assessment. The state has mandated that we should build approximately 9,000 units in the next 8 years. We don't own the land, we don't build the homes. We have to work with the developers to ensure that they get built if possible. We are working very closely with them on some master plans, trying to figure out a way to do a combined commercial development with housing above it so that there'll be a symbiotic relationship. Reggie, it's a challenge. The cost of housing right now is out of control. Many of our young people can't afford to live in town. We don't control those prices. That is a publicly driven cost that is unfortunately part of our burden, but we are working very closely with developers.
So staying on that issue of housing, the affordable housing and mixed-use overlays were created by the city to address the state-mandated regional housing need assessment numbers. Can you explain what this means for the city of Chino, and what is your vision for this as mayor? Eunice, could you speak to that?
Yes, it is an amazing burden. The state is dictating what they want built and to the density. As you know, Chino has always been proud of its rural heritage and the fact that people move here to have room. State is mandating 30 units per acre. We cannot mandate parking. It has become an incredible challenge because the developers, many of them say they can't even afford to build the units. We have identified areas within our city that would be appropriate for this kind of development and are trying to attract nonprofits that can access grants, state and federal monies to help offset the cost to attempt to build these housing units.
So, Paul, the affordable housing and mixed-use overlays were created by the city to address the state-mandated regional housing need assessment. Can you explain what this means for the city and what your vision would be as mayor?
While a councilman for District 1 for the city, I attended all SCAG meetings with Southern California Association for Governments and also all regional housing needs assessments in Riverside. And the correct number for housing or units would be 6,978. So we need to somehow follow the directions of what the state is doing, because what is happening is that if we don't, we will be sued. So somehow we have to work with developers. And yes, developers have told me as far as last week that the mayor does not meet with them at all on a one-to-one basis to start developing these units. We have to start doing that. And those units have to be built, or we're going to be facing another critical issue of being sued by the state, and also what that means, big fines. And also the council will be stripped of all authority for any building of housing, affordable housing.
So turning to an issue that we're all concerned about, one that I think is important to our quality of life, and that is the issue of crime. Many businesses are experiencing break-ins and retail theft at their business locations. How would you address this as mayor? Paul, let's begin with you.
Okay. First of all, there needs to be a direct communication with the police department. And I think I liked what they did during Christmas. And some of the Kohl's department stores and so forth, they had cars there with literally dummies in there to prevent some of these proactive thefts. So what we need to do is work with the chief and the officers to determine what is the best solution. So we need to sit down as mayor and communicate with them to stop the crime or to minimize what's happening in theft. What's also happening is that many of these crimes are being done by people from outside of Chino that are doing criminal house invasions and so forth. So we need to stop that. But the communication has to be there and the collaboration with the police to determine the areas that we need to address by increasing more patrols, more surveillance by cameras and so forth.
So thank you. Eunice, how would you address the break-ins and the retail theft that our businesses are currently experiencing?
As I mentioned, our retail theft has been up 53% in the last year. One thing that we emphasize to our retail population is that they report all crime to us so that we know truly what's going on. We have a retail theft task force that we have already put into action, started at Christmas time. We have hired more officers to continue that. Our police department works extremely close with the retail business community and ensure that there is full communication between the PD and the retailer. We also are looking at putting in cameras that our real-time crime center can watch these retail areas and know immediately when something is going on. So, and we don't put dummies in police cars. Those were real officers. We are handling it. Reggie, I'm very proud of our police department, and they are able to bring down the theft. The word is getting out in the criminal world not to come to Chino, and most of the retail theft is from outsiders.
I'm excited to hear your response on this next question because it's a visionary question. It's a challenge, but it's a positive challenge, and it has to do with the future. So the Inland Empire appears to be in great economic position for future prosperity. What do you see as a great economic opportunity for the city, and how will you ensure that we are taking the advantage of these opportunities while maintaining a high quality of life? Eunice?
The challenge is attracting the right type of businesses, the right type of housing stock, and the right type of jobs. We have a very aggressive economic development department, and we are hiring 1 or 2 more people to fill some empty spots in that. As you know, we work very closely with the Chamber. I'm excited about the Chamber programs that they have going also. I think the partnership between the Chamber and the city when it comes to attracting businesses and a variety of jobs to the city of Chino is extremely exciting. As you know, we're located in an ideal position within the Chino Valley with the 60 freeway near to the 10, the 71, the 91, and the 15. So we are an ideal location for dynamic companies to come here. Case in point would be In-N-Out. We've attracted many, many new businesses, and we will continue to do so.
And Paul, the Inland Empire, again, appears to be in great economic position for the future prosperity. What do you see as a great economic opportunity for the city, and how will you ensure that we are taking advantage of these opportunities as we maintain a high quality of life? When
we look at the logistics of the warehouses, we need to work with the chamber hand in hand, not just give them money, but be there with them in making decisions. I have spoken to some of the chamber members, and what we can do is visit Silicon Valley to see whether we can entice some of those businesses to come down to Chino and make a Southern California Silicon Valley, where we have more quality products that are being addressed and being produced here in Chino. Also working with the universities, being able to install the idea of STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Have that through the chamber to entice more businesses to be entrepreneurs in Chino. But there again, going back to the idea of working with the chamber and talking to individuals that are high quality productions in the Silicon Valley and bring some of those ideas with warehouses here in Chino.
So as a mayor of a city, there's a lot of collaboration, coordination with other entities. So as mayor, how would you coordinate efforts with other municipalities, agencies to manage expected growth in the region? Paul, would you speak to that?
Yes. One thing that's extremely important that I've already mentioned is the idea of communication, collaboration. So I would invite and also work with other cities surrounding us, Chino Hills, Pomona, Ontario, and actually speak to their chamber and also listen to what plans they have. So it has to be a collaborative interest that we grow together as a group, as a team. Chino's not alone. We're not an isolated island. We need to start communicating and collaborating with our sisters cities around us and being able to share ideas. Also to have our councilmen who receive $5,000 a year for professional development to actually go out and listen to professional development that's happening on the national level, like the National League of Cities, the League of California Cities. Not just go and eat the popcorn, but actually go and join caucuses to understand what they're doing about homelessness, what they're doing about the housing, what they're doing about transportation and water and so forth.
Eunice, how would you coordinate efforts with other municipalities and agencies to manage the expected growth in the region?
There are a number of agencies that the council belongs to. I, in particular, am a member of many of them. San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, Omnitrans Board of Directors. We have a West End Mayor's Group to get together to talk about concerns that are mutually beneficial to all of us. Our chiefs of police meet regularly to discuss items of common concern. There's also the League of Cities that we're very active in. Councilperson or Mayor Pro Tem Comstock is very involved in the League of California Cities. There are many task forces that we are part of where we collaborate with all of the West End cities especially to try to resolve mutual issues.
So our next question is in line with relationships, partnerships. What would you do to improve the communication between City Hall and the citizens of Chino? Eunice, would you speak to that?
Mm-hmm. We have been very aggressive with our social media. We have really stepped up our interaction with the community, and we now have tens of thousands of participants on our social media. As you know, we live stream our council meetings and rerun them regularly. We do have open meetings. We have workshops that people are invited to participate in. We go into the neighborhoods to have workshops. We also, we have suspended it for about the last year and a half, but we also have public meetings in markets in front of like Stater Brothers and that sort of thing to solicit public input. We've really stepped up our game with social media, and we're getting a lot of interaction with our public.
And Paul, what would you do to improve the communication between City Hall and the citizens of Chino?
Yes, it's important to tap into social media, but I propose as mayor that I will be available 7 days a week, anytime, and also establish mayor hours in the city so that individuals could come and actually meet with me and speak to me about issues, or maybe just to greet and meet, to be able to speak to them and to listen to them with their concerns and see if there's any ways that I can pass that information on to the directors as to whether there's long-term solutions or long-term solutions, short or long. So it's important that the mayor be present, that the mayor have that ability to speak to people at the city hall for certain hours during the week in person, but also to attend all organizations, the organizations of faith, to go out to the different areas and clubs and so forth and be present, to be approachable, to be able to answer questions in a positive way and proactive way. Thank you.
So I'm sure all the businesses and business leaders in the audience this evening are very much interested in this next question. How much do you prioritize attracting and growing businesses? What ideas, plans do you have to attract and grow businesses in Chino? Paul?
The Chamber, I'm an ambassador for the Chamber of Commerce. So what we do with all new businesses that come in, we actually go out and greet them and opening. I think I'm going to propose that with the Chamber that ambassadors be appointed to several businesses and also see them periodically to ensure that they're doing well if they need help and so forth. So the communication of the ambassador is going to be expanded so that it's in person. So the communication also involves active listening, as I've mentioned all along this conversation. We need to be able to ensure that and also work with the university surrounding us by developing career fairs for businesses and for the youth. Because when we have people working, they're also contributing to the economic growth of the city. So it's very, very important to have that.
So Eunice, how much do you prioritize attracting and growing businesses? And tell us some of your ideas and plans to attract and grow businesses in the city of Chino.
It's one of our top priorities. In fact, we have a whole division that's economic development. As I mentioned before, we have a couple of positions that we have opened up and filled. We meet often with our shopping center owners to try to encourage them to renovate, especially some of the older shopping centers. We help them with design plans. We help them with permitting. We're very aggressive with the ICSC conference. We have one person in particular who has a very, very wide contact list with business owners. She's constantly on the phone meeting with them. We're working very diligently to redevelop some of our older areas that are run down and attract new businesses to them, especially renovation, with the mixed use option that you mentioned before on our housing with our older shopping centers, to try to get those renovated, especially some of our vacant land as well.
So the next question is somewhat lengthy, so listen carefully. The Chino Valley Chamber, in collaboration with the City of Chino, Chaffey College, and other entities, have been approved for funding to bring an entrepreneurship center to the City of Chino. How important is this for the city, and how much of a priority will you place on the center as mayor? And how do you envision working with the entrepreneurship center? Eunice?
I think it's an exciting opportunity. We've talked about this for a while, for a couple of years now, and it's coming to fruition. I'm excited, especially for our young people. The Chamber's already getting some of our high school students involved. We have internships as well. We have a lot of talent in this community, and I think this entrepreneur opportunity is going to really help people blossom. It's exciting for us, Reggie. I think it's going to open brand new doors, brand new opportunities, and we're fully supportive of it.
Thank you. Paul, do you need me to read that question again, or are you?
I think I understand it, yeah. Okay. As a member of the Chamber of Commerce and an ambassador also for the Chamber, I think it's very important to focus on the entrepreneurships, because we need to look into the 21st century which we are in and be able to create job opportunities and also businesses. As I mentioned, why not speak to the universities and ask them to recruit and help us in doing so with the idea of STEAM, science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. So we need to develop that, and it's going to be extremely important to be able to do that, to work with the community and with the high schools. Actually go to the high schools as an ambassador, but as mayor, to speak to the leadership council of the school, of the students at Don Lugo, be it Don Lugo, be it Chino Hills High School, and actually tell them, look, we have opportunities for entrepreneurships. We're going to have career fairs, and we do have career fairs to entice and to encourage students to come in and be involved, but yet again, connect it with universities and colleges.
So this next question, it's a point of concern for many in the community. A lot of the commercial centers in Chino have not been maintained. They're poorly monitored, and there are a lot of vacancies. As mayor, how would you reinvigorate those areas and bring business back? Could you speak to that, Paul?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking of exactly Walnut Avenue and Central. That area has not been developed quite a bit, and there's been conversations with the owners and the city. If need be, I would put an eminent domain and say that you only have a certain amount of time to update for affordable homes and create an atmosphere that there is collaboration with the owner and make them an offer, and then the city can develop those areas that need to be developed for affordable housing and even entertainment and even for entrepreneurships, for businesses. That's what I would do.
And Eunice, how would you address this issue related to areas that are not maintained, poorly monitored, and the vacancies?
Reggie, the reality is there's only so much we can do with those types of shopping centers. One in particular that is very rundown, we have been very aggressive with code enforcement to ensure that at least safety issues are handled. But legally, there's only so much that we can do. These shopping centers are owned by businesses or private entities. We don't have money to put in them in. If we don't have public money to put in them, that would be a gift to public funds, which is illegal. We can encourage them to upgrade. We can help them try to attract new business to their center, and we can encourage them to perhaps reduce their rents. But reality is, Reggie, those are privately owned places, and we're not Big Brother. We're not the kind of country that goes in and takes over things. We don't have the money to do it, and we don't have the legal authority to do it. Encouragement, working with them, and trying to attract businesses and give them opportunities with businesses that are available and developers that are available.
Paul, we'll start with Eunice on this next question. So prioritizing the needs of the city of Chino, what's more important, building new homes and commercial space or rehabbing and expanding existing homes and storefronts? That's kind of a multiple choice question, but I'm going to add the word why. So what's more important to you, building new homes and commercial spaces or rehabbing and expanding existing homes and storefronts?
Reggie, it's both critically important. We need new homes desperately, but we also cannot ignore our older areas. They're just as important as the newer areas. You can't put all of your emphasis on new and ignore the old. So you've got to work hand in hand and put equal authority and equal emphasis on both. It doesn't do any good to leave your older areas aside and totally emphasize all of the new. You can be creative with the older area and try to help them renovate while you also are encouraging in the newer areas, but I can't pick one over the other because they're both very critical.
Paul, how would you answer that? What's more important, building new homes in commercial space or rehabbing existing homes and storefronts, and tell us why?
I too believe that they're both important because the city cannot afford a lawsuit against the state of California. So we need to look at that issue and resolve it with developers to develop that. When it comes to looking at the older areas of Chino, there needs to be a proactive program to be able to entice them to perhaps add solar programs on their roofs, to be able to look at have the city come in and say, look, we have solar programs that can be issued to the programs in the areas that are depleted. And also, we also have a solar system for irrigation to save water. So we can do both. But we need to go out and visit. As a mayor, I will go out and visit in these areas and speak directly to the residents and speak to them both in Espanol and English.
So Paul, we'll stay with you for the next question to lead off on this next question. So the Chino Valley Chamber has been recognized nationally for the work it has done to support local businesses. How do you plan to work with the Chino Valley Chamber to support and invigorate local businesses as a mayor?
As I mentioned, I'm an ambassador for the chamber, so I think what we are doing in the chamber is really, really important. It's not the idea of just using social media, but also using the ambassadors as liaisons to businesses that need help. Let's assign ambassadors to the specific businesses and say, this is a report of Burger King that needs some help with their roofs or something like this. That's an example. Also to increase and to work nationally as to what is the areas that need improvement. So we need to be able to look at transportation. We need to fix our potholes. We need to have synced lights for our businesses and to ensure that they are protected with our police. So that's the ways I would do it. Have the ambassadors and the chamber work with social media, but also in person to actually speak to the businesses and ask them, how can we help you?
And Eunice, how do you plan to work with the Chino Valley Chamber to support and invigorate local businesses as mayor?
Well, once again, we have an economic development department that already works with the chamber. I think the partnership between the two is an extremely successful relationship. Each entity has its legal authority to do certain things and restrictions. But as partnerships between the chamber and the city, I think you get a win-win situation for the businesses. The chamber can offer things like access to health care, that sort of stuff, where the city part of it, we handle the business licenses and the legal entities that way. But it's a perfect partnership to encourage businesses to improve and to be attracted to the city of Chino.
So we're excited about this, your answer to this next question. We've heard discussions about a new civic center, senior center, and theater. Can you speak to the development of these projects, if and how they will impact the city of Chino?
Yeah.
Eunice?
We have, as you know, a very old city hall, an abandoned courthouse. We had an abandoned fire station, very old community services building. What we chose to do was come up with a master plan so that in the future we would know what we need for our community and then set in motion a plan to develop that. This is going to take decades, Reggie. It's going to take decades because it's going to take a lot of funding. We don't have anything planned immediately, but we have the master plan, and the master plan is your first step for improvements. We don't want to hodgepodge do anything. We don't want to tear down a building and build something else that we'll be sorry for later. So we have a master plan that we will eventually be able to implement, and it's exciting. Our community wants a new civic center. Now our challenge is how do we fund that?
And Paul, can you speak to the development of a new civic center, senior center, and theater, and how
I would
it
say
would
that
impact
that
the
is
community?
not the priority. We had to raise our sales tax to 8.75, and why was that? It's because we need other infrastructures to be secure and built. So the civic center has to wait. And what I understand from the former developer is that there are plans simply to upgrade what we have here, to bring it up to code and to put more facilities of technology. But the focus is not that at this time. It's too expensive. You're talking about $415 million to do that. And who's going to have that on their shoulders? It would be the residents, their children, their grandchildren down the road. So the priority has to be the issues and concerns of fixing our infrastructure, our roads, and the concerns that people have with crime and so forth and homelessness. And also our elderly. Our elderly need to be taken care of. The baby boomers are no longer babies. They're going to need places to live that are going to be priced accordingly and reasonably, but they're going to be like 40% of the vote in the city of Chino. So we need to take care of the elderly.
So good segue into the next question, where we want to address, the seniors. So are there any plans to expand senior centers or increase the number of programs available to seniors to promote social engagement and active listening? I turned 61 2 weeks ago, so I'm very interested in your answer on this one.
Are you coming
We'll start
to me
with you,
first?
Paul.
Oh,
Myself?
Yes.
Okay. I think to begin with is very true. As I just mentioned, the baby population is no longer babies. We're elderly, including me. So we need to, first of all, take a census as to how many elderly people are in need of reasonably priced places to live. We need to increase them and find areas that we're going to be able to give them and provide them information, but also to be able to give them opportunities to live in a reasonably priced community. And also look at activities. Go and speak to the elderly. As mayor, go and listen to them. Go as a group. I would go and speak to them and say, how can I help you? How can I help you live a better life? And what kind of activities would you like to do? What do you need? Do you need more health care? Do you need more opportunities to go out and see the aquarium at Long Beach? Things like that. So you need to be present as mayor, not just take people out there to speak to them and build accordingly to the needs of the population of elderly.
And Eunice, what would be your plans to expand senior centers and increase the number of programs available to seniors to promote social engagement and active living?
First of all, 61, you're just a youngster, Rich.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Senior housing is market-driven, as you know. We do have a proposal on Central Avenue that will bring another very nice complex. We're hoping to have that built within the next 2 years. Again, that's private development, so that is market-driven. We do have a lot of programs for our senior. Our senior center is very, very active and also attracts people from all over the west end of San Bernardino County. They have a very nice drug program that they are helped with. They have a food program, a lunch program. They go on a lot of trips, and all of that is always being expanded. There are classes for them, educational classes, computer classes, dance classes, exercise programs. We have a very, very active senior population.
Thank you. Thank you both. So the city of Chino has a diverse mix of residents from diverse backgrounds. I think that's one of the things that we all love and appreciate about Southern California. It's the diversity that we have, the diverse backgrounds, diverse mix of people. How do you view diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how do you view your role in advancing those initiatives? Eunice, let's hear from you first on that question.
Well, Reggie, I'm not a real fan of titles. We do have a beautifully mixed community, and that's what makes us very special. We also are a multi-generational community, which makes us special. People live here because of the sense of community and the diversity. We used to have pockets of specific ethnic groups like the Dutch and the Portuguese, and that it's kind of all spread out now everywhere, which I think is really exciting for our community. We don't have pockets of certain development because we are truly a mixed community. We cherish that, and I believe our community cherishes that. We don't have pockets of ethnic division, so to speak. We have a cultural program. My mind's escaping right now. It's a cultural palooza where we bring together all the different ethnic groups where they get to demonstrate, their talents and their skills and their heritage. I'm proud of our community, and I love the diversity.
So, Paul, how would you view your role in advancing the initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So as a lifelong member of Chino, I have been involved with many of the festivals at the Portuguese DES, being present. I know many friends that I've gone to school with. The same with the Basque. I go out there with Gilbert, and I've met the Basque. I go to Centro Bosco, very good food. And I also have met with the Muslims. I've actually gone out and spoken to them and tried to get them involved into the city because we are a multicultural city, and our strength is our diversity. And we should treat everyone with equity, fairness, and inclusion, but also the feeling of belonging. So you need to be present, go to their festivals, being able to speak to them, listen to them, to be actively listening. At St. Margaret's Mary, I'm very involved with the Filipino choir as their organist, and also the different diversity groups at the parish. But living in Chino, it's changed, and we are very united. That's what brings us together. It's our diversity, and we need to continue that as a city of Chino. And as mayor, I plan to continue attending the festivals of the Portuguese, the Basque, the Muslims. I've gone to many of their prayer meetings. Okay, thank you.
So this next question, I don't know if it's going to be a 95-mile-an-hour four-seam fastball or if it's going to be a hard-breaking curveball, but it's a tough issue, one that we're all concerned about, and it's becoming increasingly more and more prevalent and on our minds. What is the role of the Chino mayor on issues related to homelessness and mental health? Paul, we'll begin with you on that.
Well, as I said along during this whole conversation, is that the mayor has to be actively involved. And I want to be able to attend meetings so that I can encourage all those people that we have serving the homeless and the elderly to understand what their needs are. And I think as mayor, we need to look at sections of the city that can also look for grants from the state or from the federal government to increase the idea of helping them with homelessness or people that need help. So the mayor has to have an active, proactive stance on actively addressing all those needs, actually going to those meetings and listening and encouraging, and then bringing it back to the city and say, hey, directors, this is what we need to do. Let's start working on those.
Eunice, the role of the City of Chino mayor on the issues related to homelessness and mental health. What's your plan? What are your thoughts on that?
We have several groups that I'm very active in. One is the West End Mayor's Group. We also meet with the county. There's a big collaboration now going in with the West End cities, working with the county to try to take and build an intake center. We work very cooperatively with the different police groups to figure out how we're going to handle homelessness. I'm very involved in that. There's also a group with San Bernardino County Transportation Authority. They have formed a coalition for homelessness, and I'm involved in every one of those groups. It's a very complicated issue, Reggie. It's not an easy issue to resolve, and one city cannot solve this problem because homeless people move around. It has to be a collaboration between all of our communities, even between counties, to resolve this issue. And it's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take some changes in the laws, and it's going to take a lot of activity, and we're right in the middle of it.
So thank you both. We're going to shift now. I will come back in just a moment to ask a few more questions, but for now, I'd like to introduce Rohan Alam. He's 16 years old. He's been a 16-year resident of Chino, whose favorite topic in school is anatomy and physiology, and he would like to ask you the next two questions.
About anatomy? I hope not, Rohan.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. As a student interested in biomedical science and technology, I am looking to get connected with experiences in entrepreneurs or professionals in this field. How will you collaborate with the Chamber and local businesses to help to create a strong ecosystem for students to get real-world opportunities? Mrs. Ulloa, we'll start with you.
Well, we have the entrepreneurship program that's coming up. We also work pretty close with Chaffey College to try to get the students involved with the city, as well as some of our high school students. I'm not really familiar with the area that you're involved in, so I'm not sure what we can do with you with anatomy. But we do work very closely with the colleges, and I'm really excited about the entrepreneur program with the Chamber.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Rodriguez, how will you collaborate with the Chamber and local businesses to help create a strong ecosystem for students to get real-world opportunities?
Okay. As a ambassador for the Chamber, being involved actively, I've already had conversations with Zeb, the president, to meet the director at Cal Poly, where I taught this last semester. So I want to make that partnership with Cal Poly Pomona and the Chamber so that we can develop STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics here in Chino, and to encourage our students at the high schools to be involved, all the high schools, and also junior highs. We just don't stop at the high schools. You go as far as you can, even into elementary school, by introducing them, the elementary, even to different types of jobs and things like that. But it's very important that this come to fruit, that the chamber president meet with the project chairman at Cal Poly, Dr. Parker, so that we can develop entrepreneurship career programs here in the city of Chino and move forward. And I've told Zeb, let's not do it just locally. Let's look nationally as to what is happening on the national level and make this a really Chino center for entrepreneurships for the future, for all students and residents.
Thank you so much. And for my second and final question, in recent years, artificial intelligence has been incorporated more and more into our daily lives. So as mayor, what do you think about artificial intelligence, and should the city of Chino be using artificial intelligence in city operations? If so, how, Mr. Rodriguez?
Okay. That topic is, having been a professor or having taught at Cal Poly, it's banned. AI is banned on everything. But I see the opposite. In the city of Chino, that's really a tool. When you're writing your projects or you're writing your reports, it's good to have. So it does, you look at the Microsoft Word, it automatically has the brush to be able to clean up your paragraphs and to make them more inspirational for people to see. So AI can be a tool, and even Congress right now is working on regulations for cities and so forth. So we need to use it as a tool for communication with our residents, with our population, with our elderly, with everyone. Use it as a tool.
Thank you. And then Mrs. Ulloa, what are your opinions on artificial intelligence, and how should the city of Chino be using it?
I'm very cautious with it because I think there's a lot of unknowns with AI. We are looking at how it can help us with solving crimes. As you know, you may know, we have a real-time crime center, and we're able to use some of the analytics with AI to try to do projections on crime. But we're being very careful with it because we're not really sure right now. As you know, it can go sideways. It can mislead you in some areas. It depends on how it's fed. So we're cautious with it right now. We're not sure exactly how we're going to use it. So we are using it with some research items, some writing items, and we are investigating crime resolution with it.
Thank you so much for your response and your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan. Don't you love seeing high potential youth? That's the future right there, I tell you. Great. So we're coming down to the finish line. I have 3 more questions that I want to ask as we continue to move forward. So Eunice, I'll begin with you on this next question. The Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce is working on initiatives around workforce, leadership, entrepreneurship, and economic development through the Upskill Chino Valley program. Which initiative is most important to you, and how do you see the city supporting Upskill Chino Valley?
I think the leadership part of it and the entrepreneurship is the most critical part for me, Reggie. We need help in attracting businesses here and developing our businesses that we already have. Leadership is critical, but again, leadership also is only as good as those that are influencing it and teaching it. And I think the Chamber has a lot of ability to help us in that area. And again, I think the partnership between the city and the Chamber in these areas is critical. You've been extremely successful in attracting some funding for these programs. Very impressive. Zeb's done a really good job in developing the Chamber. I think our Chamber is one of the best in California, in all honesty. I'm very enthusiastic about the possibilities moving forward.
And Paul, the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, again, the initiatives, workforce development, leadership development, entrepreneurship, economic development. Which of these initiatives is most important to you, and how do you see the mayor, the city supporting Upskill Chino Valley?
All those initiatives are important, all of them. And being a part of the Chamber as an ambassador, we will continue to work with county workforce development and also use social media to entice people to be involved, businesses to be involved. So it's very important that the mayor be actually involved and go to some of these meetings to understand, how can I help the Chamber? What can I do to make this stronger for our future, for our future residents and so forth? Because as we know, we're increasing from 96,000 plus to about 140,000 within 20 years. So we need to be able to entice and encourage everyone to be involved with businesses, with the city, and that means presence of the mayor, to be proactive, to be communicative, and to also use active listening. How can I help you? What do you need? And actually go out and meet these people, the residents, I mean. So they're all important, but we need to keep working with Zeb and the chamber to go not only locally, but also nationally. What are they doing in other states to entice and make their Chamber of Commerce better for the residents?
So one of the trends we've all seen in our lifetime are cities that decline and die. And as a leadership specialist, one of the things that I know that causes that is a lack of vision. And so we're interested in hearing what your vision and priorities would be over the next 4 years. So Paul, let's start with you on that question.
Well, with a doctorate in leadership and organizational management, my vision is this, that we need to really address and be proactive on the critical issues that the citizens are concerned with, like infrastructure, term limits, to be able to look at the fiscal, that it's stable. So we're going to need to be able to be transparent. Effective leadership is not going to happen unless you're transparent, to have an open door policy. And as I mentioned, I will have office hours that residents can actually come and meet with me so I can understand how I can address their needs. And also to be proactive with any type of legislative issues that are changing within the state or within our own city that we need to follow. So you need to be active on everything and be actively listening to everything.
And Eunice, thinking 4 years out, your vision for the city and some of the priorities that you would focus on.
Reggie, we have, as you know, issues with crime. Public safety is the #1 priority for me, as well as working with our current police department and our chief with CIM. The state, in its wisdom, has decided to cut funding. We now have death row inmates at CIM. There was a proposal, the governor wanted to cut more funding and remove the guards from the gates so that it would be wide open to the public just driving in. We've worked very aggressively using our police department to shut that down for at least CIM. Public safety, quality of life is very, very critical moving forward in the next 4 years. The state and its intrusion is causing us major issues. Local control is critical. We must work with our legislators. We must work with our other police departments and our business community to ensure that we have a safe, thriving community, and that's my #1 priority.
Thank you. So both of you know that leadership is more than a title, it's more than a position. Leadership is about influence. So I want both of you to go back to our bragging mode. I want you to brag on yourself. What are some traits you possess as a leader that makes you an ideal candidate for mayor? Eunice, let's begin with you on that one.
Reggie, I am not an I person. I never have been, I never will be. I am part of a team, part of a wonderful team with our city staff, with our community, with our police department, and with our legislators. It takes a team to do things. As mayor, yes, I do lead the city, and I am the figurehead of the city. I go to almost every event that we have in this community. I'm very, very familiar with the issues that we have, but I am not going to stand up here and say I can solve all the problems. It takes a team. A good leader leads people, not out in front being gosh, you know, it's all about me. It's about us, Reggie. It's about the team that we form with our staff, with our police department, and our community. That's how we have a successful community. Not someone who's going to glorify themselves and be out in front and brag about everything that we've done. Yes, I have led a lot of things. Yes, I have personally done a lot of stuff, but I wouldn't be successful if it weren't for the team that we've built.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Paul, so what are some of your traits that you possess that makes you an ideal leader and candidate for the city of Chino?
Okay. I am proactive, and I look at individuals to be able to understand what their issues are and concerns. And yes, you work as a team as a leader. you encourage all your employees and even the public to be able to work the best they can for the city. The mayor is a model and should be the spearhead. It's not the idea of being bragging or anything. It's the idea of understanding how can we address the issues that are concerning the city. So the mayor is basically a model that represents the city, but not only the city, they represent their family name. So you want to do the very best for everyone and work as a team. And also to be able to critically address the issues and understand them by being able to speak to individuals and bring it back to directors and work with them as a team. To sit in on meetings, because what I understand is the city manager meets with directors. Well, the mayor needs to do that and just sit and facilitate or maybe just listen to see what's happening there. It's not the idea of being pointing the finger, hey, he's the mayor, you need to listen to him. No, no, no. You listen to what I want to be able to listen to understand how I can make Chino a better place for all of us to live and to transpire this, give it to the teams and to the directors to move forward.
Well, thank you both for your answers to the questions. Both of you were very thoughtful and very articulate in your answers, and so we appreciate that. So we're going to move now into closing statements. And so, Paul, since Eunice, she led off the evening with the opening statements, I'm going to ask you to start off with your 2-minute closing statement.
To begin with, my committee identified 20,000 propensity voters. So we have a poll of the top 10 issues and concerns that the voters are concerned with. Number one would be the water contamination of 1,500 septic tanks that are leaking and ruining our water. I want to save the child. I want to save the unborn child and also the people that live in that area. And we need to work with the Monte Vista Water District and give them the authority to build a sewer system to connect to the water recycling center that we're building on Benson Avenue. Second would be the infrastructure, to continue to work with the U.S. Army Corps and go ahead and make the payments since we don't have the money, and make those payments and have that. Because I've gone out there early in the morning, it is bad. I mean, it is very, very crowded, and people are very upset. But I think the transparency has to be that we tell and announce to the residents that are living in that area where there's a lot of congestion, to tell them, look, this is what we're doing. They need to know directly from the city council and from our directors. And then our fiscal is a high priority. We need to ensure that that money is not going to be used for a civic center that the mayor wants to build. Over $500 million plus in years is going to cost more. So we need to be able to understand and have regular quarterly audits to tell us where we are with our fiscal, and give that not once, but give that to the residents so they understand that we're moving in the right direction. So that has to be transparent. And then lastly, term limits. Since our city is growing from 96,000 plus, and within 30 years or 20 years, we're going to be up to 140. So we're no longer a town, we are a city. So we need to look at the issues and concerns of all the citizens and be able to allow them to have term limits so that they know there are 2 terms, and then have new, fresh ideas come into the city, and then continue with projects. I propose that the city even create a leadership school in order to teach our councilmen what are the concepts and components of leadership. Let's go in that direction, and not only open it and leave it for the council, but also to citizens that are looking for future abilities to be on the city council.
Thank you. Thank you. Eunice, could you give us your 2-minute closing statement?
Yes. I want to thank you, Chino Valley Chamber, for hosting this forum, where we, the candidates for the office of mayor, have had the opportunity to voice our opinion and our concerns. I've served on the Chino City Council for over 39 years, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished. We've grown into a beautiful community that not only prospers in good times, but holds our own during difficult times. The challenges we face continue to be fiscal stability, maintaining our quality of life, public safety, and now the struggle to maintain local control. State mandates have brought new challenges, one of which is mandatory housing density. I believe that you, our community, should have a say in future housing development, but unfortunately, state agencies now dictate what is to be built under threat of stiff penalties if we don't comply. Proposition 47, passed in 2014, has created conditions where criminals now have more rights than their victims. Hopefully, Proposition 36 will pass in November and we'll see changes. I've always been a strong supporter of public safety because we all deserve to feel safe in our community and in our homes. We will continue to provide the tools, equipment, and training necessary for our police department to do the job needed to keep us safe. I've always maintained an open door policy. In fact, my contact information is publicly available, and I welcome your thoughts and ideas. Chino is a great community, not because of any individual or specific group or entity, but because of the many partnerships between us all. This is our home. Once again, thank you for your trust and support. It's been an honor to serve this great community, and I would love to continue, so please vote for Unishiloa on November 5th. I would also ask for the prayers and the thoughts of those victims of the Hurricane Helene and Milton that is now touching base in Florida. They've also suffered some horrible tornadoes, so I ask that we keep them all in our prayers and our thoughts. There's a couple of really nice organizations, the Red Cross, and another organization, Samaritan's Purse, that is doing some marvelous benefits for the people that have suffered so badly. Thank you very much for the forum.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ulloa and Mr. Rodriguez. Audience, would you join me in giving our candidates a hand? Thank you to both of you for coming out this evening to share your thoughts and your vision and your ideas and your plans. So on behalf of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, we wish you the best in the upcoming election. And the forum is now concluded. So thank you all for coming out this evening.
Thank you very much.